I like it fast, I like it hard.
You know what? You really sound like the guy in the tell me how to cheesecake. I have the audiobook. You make me guy that
In case you didn't know, this is one of the very few books that you'll ever read that has a soundtrack. I'm going to scan it, and then the goal is on the kernel. Kernel click, kernel lick.
Just stop there.
It's all bad. It's all really, really bad. I was a bad boy. A very, very bad boy most of my life. But let's just say I once took ecstasy and went to a drum circle at a coffee shop. I bleepin' rock. I rock, absolutely rock at African hand drums. In case you can't tell, I've even got a necklace with a hand drum on it. I studied at the Cleopatra Robinson Dance School, and I played for their performances, and it was really neat. So let's just say I bleepin' rock at African hand drums and brought this handmade djembe from Senegal that I had hand strung myself. It was beautiful. It was cut from a single stump of wood. It was really neat. So I shaved the goat hair and aligned the backbone for authenticity, playing authentic, ancient rhythms I'd studied for years prior. Hey, someone find out some volume on this, will you? So let's just say I knew exactly what I was doing, but I did not know exactly what I was doing. Okay? I knew what I was doing, but something was surely getting done. There were a couple of really hot Burning Man type chicks who showed up and danced in front of me the whole time, and it was no surprise when one of the hottest girls invited me back to her place afterwards. Yeah. So my hunch was that she wanted a little Colonel Bleep. And, I'd led the group for hours in a beat-induced frenzy, and she was happy to partake in the gift of attention bestowed by the snake god charm. Now, however, this was not a snake, but a beautiful young woman who wanted to show me her art, which may or may not have had snakes in it. Ecstatically, I went over to her house and looked at her mediocre artwork. Oh, I think I might have skipped an entire page.
It goes well.
So, although slightly less ecstatic after viewing her chicken scratch, and not quite sure if I was visiting the same enticing siren from a few hours prior, I was intrigued by this fine specimen, which worked by a charm for getting it in. She invited me back to her room and proceeded to make love to me, and by love I mean showing me things she wanted me to see and letting me do things I wanted to do. It was perfect and wonderful, except not everything was perfect or wonderful. I explored her body with my hands, and I noticed she was not into shaving her underarms, and although I'd hoped for the best, it was a hope that soon became hopeless shock when the same hygiene practice, holy smokes, what's this? I handled it like that, by the way, that kind of man. Okay, with hopeless shock when the same hygiene practice was soon found on her legs and gigantic fro that sprouted from her Venus mound, and then tangled into the hair on either side of this monkey-love sapien. As you can imagine, the sensation was slightly less comfortable to stomach with my eyes closed. This was mainly because I did see a beautiful woman who was essentially an orangutan.
It's all your fault.
Uncharacteristically, with my piano fingers, I could not find her love tunnel. It was a mess, like tree roots sprouting forth to keep out a woodman's shovel. But I had not meant to dig up the tree and remove it entirely after sucking the piss out of it, and not chop it down and sell it for firewood afterward. But at some point, I was committed to do something about that thicket, and I had approached it with such enthusiasm. Now I was feeling relatively ungodly about the entire performance. You guys with me so far?
Oh, yeah. Stick it.
So, the challenge presented itself with the coarse hair of a wild boar that was DTF by my own doing, But I wasn't certain what to do now. But one thing was for sure, you can look a gift horse in the mouth. But after you start making love to it, and you find out that horse is also a wild boar, you can't just simply change your course without offending this hairy girl, because she was deserving of feigned affection, not outward disgust for her choice to share her hairy BLEEP farm with me. So BLEEP was what I was about to do to this hairy BLEEP granola-eating, kernel-prick-sucking, and so I began bleeping B. Contrary to the previous sentence, of course, I thoroughly respected her gorgeous yet extremely hairy body and changed my plan on the fly with no more fumbling than it took to make a glorious production of placing a mint-flavored condom on my extremely unaffected and throbbing little kern. It was just enough time to utilize my sleight of hand, choosing the previously unthinkable. If my hand couldn't find it, maybe my minty, determined member of infiltration could shovel out some roots. I moved forward unapologetically, sidelining the Golden Gates, sidelining the downward foreplay while allowing her almost perfect hairy nubile breast to maintain double duty in foreplay, while my ping was no longer assisted to find the drinking beep or butt fro beep. And to my surprise, it did. It did. That's why I'm writing this right now. It did. It was as if the Golden Gates had parted their hairy gates and left unattended by the gate shearer, and simply allowing the entrance of the intruder who was still not entirely sure whether this was the service entrance or the tiny backdoor guest house. To be honest, by this point, it was more about follow-through on a plan that wasn't really a plan, as much as it was planning on how to utilize selective memory when not remembering this element frozen in time and alternate space described above, just prior to forgetting it all until just now and writing this down. Then at the time, I found what only a minty penis could locate. I was psyched, and the dripping clump of roots seemed to reciprocate the level of arousal, unaffected by a detoured foreplay route, and more suited to a mountain stream of accomplishment, more even, more streamy in retrospect. In retrospect, and by retrospect I mean the time the boar's hair started to irritate the baby smooth throbbing messenger of why I'm an aging pig, it almost made me gag. Knowing I shaved my head that morning and was now bleeping a girl whose bleep was so hairy I couldn't find it with my own fingers made me not want to see with my eyes what nobody could have seen without some salad tongs. Regardless, I value strong follow-through, and I wasn't going to let the fact that I might have been humping a monkey let me keep me from a good performance. As proud as I felt hours earlier and at the coffee shop and long before I bleeped any monkey sapien snake beep. After a thorough exploration of what she was about, and to be sure that she was a female, and she had such a great monkey body that I would probably do it again, and perhaps a few more times, under the exact same circumstances. I might have stayed a bit longer, asked a few more questions, asked for some bucks, and perhaps later taken a few pictures and attempted hairy anal, and or humping some of her hot friends, but I knew there would be many more adventures to come that didn't allow hairy people in the tiny dripping back door. So although I don't remember how I got out of there without ever knowing her name, or getting a follow-up phone number, I just remember it took some cunning. One thing is burned in my mind forever. The carpet definitely matched the drapes. And I'm a cunning linguist many times since, been called Colonel Beck. Thank you so much. What's that in here? What?
Thank you, Colonel. Yeah, I think we might have crossed some boundaries there with censorship and issues. I'd like to apologize for any children or any random people that might have heard that.
Thank you very much there, Mr. Zanrich. You know, him friend Ass Maggots, a real jerk, but I'm glad I'm not here today. Yeah. This one here called Guru Tom Rant. I'm just back from Jamaica, luckily alive. Zon Rich. That man right there. What up, partner? So I'm sitting here in a Babylon, mad, pissed off, broke, coming down on some good, stuff, man, waiting to speak to that freaking New York Life Insurance bumbleclad to suck on me corporate, what, man. Just trying to survive out here in this pure madness. Describe your life at point in quickies. You read quickies, man? It's pretty good, no, not bad, man. For a virgin effort, not so bad, they like quickies. Okay, so me feel like this Babylon gonna go down one day, and then we put on my normal 80-minute roots reggae mix, and I'm relaxed with a rude boy scalp on my face, me hydrate, because you can be relaxed if you're a Rasta, but be pissed off too, Yeah, man. So, brother man like brethren, but I know you a real Rasta rude boy. Mr. Zonrich, him a doctor, but him rude, him mean, man. So check out my newest rants, attached, unlike me, to anything, including a piece of using what him talked about earlier, this man right here, with no love in her soul. Peace, keep pimping star. I, indeed.
Yeah!
All right.
Perfect, we did.
Thank you.
We definitely got to take a break on that note.
Okay. That's my love of drinking. Because I like
That's just your friend. You have it so secret. You have yours. Well, anyways, send me a message. Anyways.
And motherfucking loud.
Pussy.